it'll be one of the great ballrooms anywhere in the world.
Last night, the president again boasted about what will replace it.
This is going to be probably the finest ballroom ever built, and we're doing it no cost to the country. It's being the money's being put in by me and donors, very great patriots, actually.
The new ballroom will be lavish and dwarf the current East Wing. President Trump previously promised the new addition would leave the White House intact.
Won't interfere with the current building. It won't be. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite.
The East Wing was started in 1902 and expanded in the 1940s. It houses offices for the First Lady. Initially, Trump said he was just demolishing this section, but now he's confirmed the whole lot is coming down. What do you think about what's going on?
I'm seriously, and I'm gonna cry. Just gutted.
What does it mean to you?
We've seen here in DC incursions into our democracy, and this one is just so in your face.
Okay, so picture this. You're sitting at home, scrolling through the news, maybe having your morning coffee, and then you see it, a headline that makes you do a double take. A judge threatening Barron Trump with jail time. Yeah, you heard that right. Barron Trump, the kid who's barely been in the public eye, the one Melania has protected like a mama bear since day one. And now he's being dragged into court, forced to testify, and if he doesn't show up, well, the judge said jail is on the table. Can you believe this? Like, let's just pause for a second here. We're talking about a teenager, not some political operative, not some lawyer or business partner, a kid. And the courts are putting him in the middle of one of the most explosive legal battles in American history. The fallout from this decision has been absolutely insane. The White House is in full meltdown mode. Trump's legal team is calling it politically motivated. Melania is reportedly furious. And the media? Oh man, the media is having a field day with this whole thing. This isn't just some small legal footnote. This is a bombshell that's shaking the entire political establishment right now. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
The finest ballroom ever built.
But is this Trump governing without limits?
Seeing a single person unilaterally destroy parts of our shared history, it's shocking.
My liberal friends said they're very concerned about our history. Really, these are the same people who tore down every statue they could get their hands on.
You know, it's so funny saying how Trump's destroying everything. JFK had a swimming pool.
He warned of American carnage. But few thought Donald Trump would inflict it on one of the most beloved buildings in the nation. This week, the East Wing of the White House is being demolished with no planning permission, no preservation, and Trump's critics say, no respect.
But here's the thing. This isn't just about Barron. This is about how far Trump's opponents are willing to go. This is about whether the courts have completely lost their minds. And this is about what happens when you mix politics, family, and the legal system into one giant pressure cooker that's about to explode. So yeah, buckle up, because what I'm about to walk you through is going to blow your mind. And by the end of this, you're going to see why this single move, this threat against Barron, might be the most reckless, controversial, and potentially backfiring decision anyone has made in this entire legal circus. Let me just say this up front. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. When you start going after someone's kids, when you threaten a teenager with jail time to get to his father, you've crossed the line, a big one. And the fact that a judge actually went there, that's not justice. That's something else entirely. That's weaponization of the legal system in the most personal, brutal way possible. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, if Barron has information relevant to the case, shouldn't he testify? Doesn't everyone have to follow the law? And sure, yeah, in theory, that sounds reasonable. But let's get real for a second. This isn't happening in a vacuum. This is happening in the middle of Trump's second term. This is happening while his opponents are throwing everything they can at him to damage his presidency. And now they're using his son as leverage. Come on, you really think this is just about getting testimony? Or is this about putting maximum pressure on Trump by going after the people he loves most. The timing here is suspicious as hell. Just as Trump is dealing with multiple legal challenges, just as the political battles are heating up, just as the media is obsessed with every single move the Trump family makes, suddenly Barron is being hauled into court, and not just quietly. No, the judge made a public statement, a warning. Show up or face jail time. That's not normal legal procedure. That's a threat. That's intimidation. That's psychological warfare, dressed up as due process. And here's where it gets even more wild. Trump's defense strategy, which was already under pressure, is now completely fractured. The legal team is scrambling. Sources inside the White House say the stress on Trump and Melania is at an all-time high. There are even rumors, and I'm not saying these are confirmed, but they're out there, rumors about custody issues resurfacing, about Melania reaching her breaking point with all of this. Think about that. We're talking about a family being torn apart by legal warfare, a mother watching her son get dragged into a political nightmare, a father watching his opponents weaponize his own child against him. This is the state of American politics right now. This is how low things have gotten. And honestly, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, you gotta admit, this feels wrong. This feels like we've entered some dark new territory where nothing is off limits anymore, where even teenagers aren't safe from the political machine, where family members become collateral damage in the quest to destroy political enemies. So what exactly is going on here? Why is Barron being forced to testify? What do they think he knows? And what does this mean for Trump's legal battles moving forward? Well, that's what we're going to break down, because this story is way bigger than just one court decision. This is about precedent. This is about how far the justice system will go when politics are involved. And this is about whether we've completely lost sight of basic decency in the pursuit of winning at all costs. And let me tell you something else. This isn't the first time we've seen Trump's family dragged into political battles. Remember back during the impeachment proceedings? There was that Stanford law professor who made a joke mentioning Barron's name, and Melania absolutely lost it. She came out swinging, demanding an apology, saying her son should be off limits. And you know what? Most people agree with her. Democrats, Republicans, everyone said, yeah, leave the kid out of it. But now the courts are saying, nope, he's fair game. Now they're saying we can threaten him with jail if he doesn't cooperate. What changed? Did the rules suddenly shift? Or did Trump's opponents just decide that nothing is off limits anymore in their quest to take him down? These are the questions we need to be asking, because this isn't normal. This has never been normal. And if we let this become the new standard, we're opening a door that should stay closed. Let's dive in. All right, so here's what's actually happening. And trust me, the more you learn about this situation, the more messed up it gets. A judge recently made a ruling in one of Trump's ongoing legal cases. Now, there are several cases swirling around Trump right now, so let's just acknowledge that reality. The Supreme Court already ruled that presidents don't have blanket immunity from prosecution, which opened the floodgates for all kinds of legal action against Trump. So we're in uncharted territory here, and in this particular case, the prosecution apparently believes that Barron Trump has information that's relevant to their case. What information? Well, that's where things get murky. The details haven't been fully disclosed, but legal analysts are speculating it has something to do with communications, documents, or events that Barron may have witnessed while living in the White House or at Mar-a-Lago. Maybe conversations he overheard, maybe documents he saw lying around, maybe interactions between his father and various advisors or lawyers. Whatever it is, prosecutors think it's big enough to justify this unprecedented move. And here's where the judge stepped in. The judge didn't just issue a subpoena. The judge made a public statement, a warning really, that if Barron refused to comply and show up for testimony, he could face contempt charges. And contempt charges can mean jail time. Let me repeat that. A judge threatened a teenager with jail if he doesn't testify against his own father. Now Trump's legal team immediately fired back. They called the decision outrageous. They said it's politically motivated. They argued that Barron is being used as a pawn in a larger political game. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that assessment. Because let's be real, when have we ever seen a president's minor child threatened with jail time to force testimony? This is unprecedented. This has never happened before in American history. Not during Watergate, not during Clinton's impeachment, not during any other major political scandal. We're breaking new ground here, and not in a good way. This is setting a precedent that could haunt American politics for generations. And the public reaction? Oh man, it's been explosive. Social media is on fire. Conservative commentators are calling this judicial overreach. Liberal commentators are saying everyone must follow the law, even the Trump family. Legal experts are debating whether this sets a dangerous precedent. And regular people are just sitting here going, wait, can they actually do this? The short answer is technically yes. In theory, anyone can be subpoenaed to testify if they have relevant information. But there are also protections especially for minors. There are ethical considerations, and there's something called prosecutorial discretion, which means prosecutors are supposed to make judgment calls about whether pursuing certain testimony is appropriate and necessary. They're supposed to weigh the value of the testimony against the potential harm it could cause. They're supposed to consider whether there are alternative ways to get the same information. And clearly, in this case, prosecutors decided that going after Barron was worth all the controversy and backlash it would inevitably create. So why are they doing this? Why go after Barron specifically? Well, here's the thing. Trump's defense strategy has been built around a few key pillars. One of those pillars is that Trump's actions were either within his rights as president or that there's no direct evidence of wrongdoing. The prosecution apparently believes that Barron's testimony could undermine that defense. Maybe Barron overheard conversations. Maybe he saw documents. Maybe he witnessed something that contradicts Trump's version of events. According to some reports, there's been explosive courtroom testimony about concealed information and questionable legal tactics. Trump's defense has been falling apart piece by piece. Witnesses have come forward, documents have been revealed, and now prosecutors think Barron might have the final puzzle piece they need to completely dismantle Trump's legal position. They think he might have seen or heard something that blows up Trump's entire defense strategy, and they're willing to threaten a kid with jail to get it. But here's what makes this so controversial. Barron has been kept out of the political spotlight for years. Melania has been fiercely protective of him. Unlike Trump's other kids, Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, Barron hasn't been involved in the Trump organization. He hasn't been making political speeches. He hasn't been at rallies or press conferences. He's been in school. He's been living his life as normally as possible, given the circumstances. And now the courts are saying, nope, that doesn't matter. We need him to testify. And if he doesn't, we'll put him in jail. Can you see why people are losing their minds over this? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what Barron knows. I don't know if his testimony would actually be relevant or damaging, but I do know that going after someone's kid, especially in such a public, threatening way, is a choice. It's a tactical decision by prosecutors, and it's a decision that a lot of people believe crossed a major ethical line. It's one thing to pursue justice. It's another thing to use a teenager as a weapon in a political battle. Now, let's talk about the fallout, because this decision has caused absolute chaos inside the White House. According to sources close to the Trump family, Melania is beyond angry. She's reportedly been in meetings with her own lawyers, trying to figure out how to protect Barron from this legal nightmare. There are even rumors that she's considering taking Barron and leaving Washington temporarily to shield him from the media circus. And Trump himself? Well, Trump is furious. He's calling this a witch hunt. He's saying his opponents will stop at nothing to destroy him and his family. And honestly, whether you believe that or not, it's hard to deny that this move has given Trump a massive talking point. He can now say, look, they're not just coming after me. They're going after my son. They're threatening my teenager with jail time. What kind of justice system does that? And you know what? That message is resonating. Even people who aren't Trump fans are looking at this situation and feeling uncomfortable, because there's something deeply unsettling about watching a kid get pulled into his father's legal battles. It feels vindictive, it feels cruel, and it feels like the kind of thing that shouldn't happen in America. But wait, there's more, because this isn't happening in isolation. Remember, Trump's defense has already been under serious pressure. There have been multiple testimonies from other witnesses. There have been documents released. And according to some legal analysts, Trump's defense strategy has been fracturing for weeks. The threat against Barron is just the latest blow in what's becoming a total collapse of Trump's legal position. Or at least, that's what prosecutors hope. Because here's the reality. This move could totally backfire. Going after Barron might actually generate sympathy for Trump. It might make the prosecution look overly aggressive and politically motivated. It might turn public opinion against the courts and in favor of the Trump family. And that's a real risk that prosecutors are taking by pursuing this strategy. They're gambling that the value of Barron's testimony will outweigh the political and public relations cost of threatening a teenager. That's a huge gamble, and it might not pay off the way they think it will. There's also the legal precedent to consider. If this stands, if Barron is forced to testify under threat of jail time, what does that mean for future cases? Does it mean that any child of any politician can be hauled into court and threatened with contempt? Does it mean that family members become fair game in political prosecutions? These are big questions, and the answers could reshape how the justice system handles politically charged cases moving forward. Legal experts are divided on this. Some say the courts are just following the law, that no one gets special treatment, not even the president's family. Others are saying this is a massive overstep, that there are unwritten norms about leaving kids out of political battles, and those norms exist for good reason. They exist because we as a society recognize that children shouldn't be punished for their parents' actions. They exist because we understand that dragging kids into adult conflicts causes psychological harm. And they exist because we believe that some lines shouldn't be crossed, even in the pursuit of justice. And then there's the emotional toll. Think about what this is doing to Barron. He's a teenager. He's already grown up in the most intense public spotlight imaginable. He's had to deal with constant media attention, constant scrutiny, constant attacks on his family. And now he's being told he might go to jail if he doesn't testify in a case that could destroy his father's legacy. What do you think that does to a kid? What do you think that does to a family? This is why so many people, regardless of their politics, are saying this has gone too far. Because even if you think Trump deserves to face legal consequences for his actions, does Barron deserve to be put through this? Does any child deserve to be used as a weapon against their parent? The answer, for a lot of people, is no. Hell no. And that's what makes this story so explosive. It's not just about Trump. It's not just about the legal case. It's about the boundaries of justice. It's about how far we're willing to go in the name of accountability. And it's about whether we've lost our moral compass in the process. Think about the message this sends. If you're a public figure, if you're in politics, if you have enemies with power, your kids aren't safe. They can be dragged into court. They can be threatened. They can be used as leverage against you. Is that the kind of country we want to live in? And here's another thing that's not getting enough attention. The psychological impact on Barron could be severe and long-lasting. We're talking about a young person being forced into a situation where he has to choose between testifying against his father or facing jail time himself. That's an impossible position to put anyone in, let alone a teenager. So yeah, the White House is in meltdown mode, Trump's defense is scrambling, Melania is reportedly at her breaking point, and Barron is stuck in the middle of a nightmare that he never asked for and doesn't deserve. And the courts? Well, they're moving forward anyway, because apparently nothing is off limits anymore, not even kids. Okay, so let's break this down into simple terms, because this story has a lot of moving parts, and I want to make sure you understand exactly what's happening and why it matters. First point, the legal strategy here is clear. Prosecutors believe that Barron has information that could damage Trump's defense. Maybe it's something he saw, maybe it's something he heard. Whatever it is, they think it's important enough to force him to testify, and they're using the threat of jail time to make sure he shows up. This is a high-pressure tactic. It's designed to squeeze the Trump family and create maximum leverage. Now, is this legal? Technically, yes. Courts have broad authority to compel testimony. But is it ethical? That's where the debate gets heated. Because while the law might allow this, there are unwritten rules about going after minors, especially in politically charged cases. And a lot of legal experts are saying this crosses that line. The thing is, prosecutors have options. They could have pursued other avenues. They could have relied on documentary evidence. They could have used testimony from other witnesses. But they chose to go after Barron. That was a deliberate choice. And it's a choice that reveals just how desperate they are to build their case against Trump. It shows they're willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means threatening a teenager with prison time. Second point, this decision has political ramifications that go way beyond the courtroom. Trump is already dealing with multiple legal challenges. He's already under intense scrutiny from opponents who want to see him held accountable. But now, by going after Barron, prosecutors have given Trump a powerful narrative. He can play the victim card. He can say, look, they're not satisfied with attacking me. Now they're attacking my son. They're threatening my kid with jail. What's next? And that narrative works. It works with Trump's base, obviously. They see this as proof of a political witch hunt, but it also works with moderates. It works with people who might not be Trump fans, but who feel uncomfortable watching a teenager get dragged into his father's legal mess. So in a weird way, this aggressive move by prosecutors might actually help Trump politically. It might generate sympathy. It might rally support. And it might make his opponents look vindictive and cruel. Think about the optics here. You've got a powerful legal system threatening a teenager. You've got prosecutors who seem more interested in destroying Trump than in actual justice. And you've got a family that's being torn apart for political gain. That's not a good look. That's not the kind of thing that wins hearts and minds. That's the kind of thing that makes people question whether the pursuit of justice has turned into a personal vendetta. Third point, the family dynamics here are crucial. Melania has always been protective of Barron. She's kept him out of the spotlight. She's tried to give him as normal a life as possible. And now that protective bubble has been shattered. The courts have made it clear that Barron is not off limits, and that has to be devastating for Melania. Sources say she's furious. Sources say she's reaching her breaking point. And honestly, can you blame her? Imagine being a parent and watching your child get threatened with jail time because of your spouse's legal problems. Imagine seeing your teenager pulled into a public spectacle that could traumatize him for life. That's not something any parent should have to endure. And it's not something any kid should have to go through. There are even rumors, and again, these are just rumors, that Melania is considering taking more drastic steps to protect Barron. Some reports suggest she's talking to lawyers about custody arrangements. Some reports suggest she might leave Washington temporarily. And while none of this is confirmed, the fact that these rumors exist shows just how much stress this situation is putting on the Trump family. And let's be real, if Melania does decide to take Barron and leave, even temporarily, that becomes a massive story in itself. It becomes evidence of how much damage this legal warfare is causing. It becomes ammunition for Trump's argument that his opponents are destroying his family. It becomes a visual, undeniable symbol that the political and legal battles have reached a breaking point. Fourth point, this sets a dangerous precedent. If Barron is forced to testify under threat of jail, what does that mean for other political families? What does that mean for the children of future presidents, governors, or other high-profile officials? Are they all fair game now? Can prosecutors just haul them into court whenever it's convenient? These are serious questions, because once you cross this line, it's hard to uncross it. Once you establish that threatening minors is an acceptable legal tactic, you open the door to all kinds of abuse, and that should worry everyone, regardless of political affiliation. Imagine if this happened to the children of other political figures. Imagine if every prosecutor felt empowered to go after kids to get to their parents. That's a nightmare scenario. That's the kind of thing that happens in authoritarian countries, not in free democracies. We need to ask ourselves whether we want to live in a country where political battles extend to threatening the children of our leaders. Because once we normalize that behavior, there's no going back. The genie doesn't go back in the bottle. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because this story is far from over. The immediate question is whether Barron will actually have to testify. Trump's legal team is fighting this hard. They're filing motions. They're arguing that Barron's testimony is unnecessary and that forcing him to testify is inappropriate. They're also arguing that the threat of jail time is excessive and punitive. But will they succeed? That depends on the judge and potentially on higher courts if this gets appealed. If Barron does testify, the next question is what he'll say. Will his testimony actually damage Trump's defense, or will it be a nothing burger that doesn't change anything? We don't know yet. But the fact that prosecutors are pushing this so hard suggests they believe he has something significant to share. And then there's the political fallout. This story is dominating headlines. It's all over social media. It's being debated on cable news. And it's shaping public perception of Trump's legal battles. Whether that helps or hurts Trump in the long run remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. This controversy isn't going away anytime soon. It's going to be a major talking point for weeks, maybe months to come. There's also the question of how this affects Trump's presidency moving forward. Right now, Trump is trying to govern. He's trying to push his agenda. He's trying to focus on policy. But these legal battles keep pulling him back. They keep dominating the news cycle. And now with Barron in the mix, the distraction is even bigger. It's even more personal. And it's even harder to ignore. Every day that Trump spends fighting these legal battles is a day he's not focused on his presidential duties. Every headline about Barron is a headline that's not about Trump's legislative victories or policy accomplishments, and his opponents know this. They know that keeping Trump tied up in legal drama weakens his presidency, and going after Barron is the ultimate distraction. It's the nuclear option. It's the one move that guarantees Trump will be consumed by this controversy, unable to focus on anything else. So where does this leave us? Well, here's my take. This situation is a mess. It's a political, legal, and ethical mess, and there are no easy answers. On one hand, if Barron genuinely has relevant information, there's an argument that he should testify. The rule of law matters. No one should be above the law, not even the president's family. That's a principle worth defending. But on the other hand, going after a teenager with threats of jail time feels wrong. It feels like a step too far. It feels like the kind of thing that crosses a moral line, even if it's technically legal. And that's a problem, because once you lose the moral high ground, it's hard to claim you're acting in the name of justice. The truth is, this story is exposing something ugly about American politics right now. It's exposing how personal things have gotten. It's exposing how willing people are to cross lines in the pursuit of winning. And it's exposing how our justice system can be weaponized when politics are involved. And that should concern all of us, because today is Barron Trump. Tomorrow, it could be someone else's kid. It could be your kid. If you ever find yourself in the crosshairs of a politically motivated prosecution, and if we're not careful, we're going to normalize tactics that should never be acceptable in a free society. So, yeah, the White House is in meltdown. Trump's defense is in shambles, and Barron is stuck in the middle of a nightmare that he never asked for. But the bigger story here is what this says about where we are as a country. It's about the erosion of norms. It's about the weaponization of our legal system. And it's about whether we have any lines left that we're not willing to cross. Because right now, it's looking like the answer is no. And that's terrifying. Look, I want you to think about something. What kind of society do we want to be? Do we want to be a country where kids get threatened with jail to get to their parents? Do we want to be a country where political enemies use any weapon available, no matter how cruel? Or do we want to be better than that? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves as this story unfolds. Because the decisions we make now, the precedents we set today, they're going to shape American politics for decades to come. All right, that's it for today. I know this was heavy, but this story matters, and you need to understand what's really going on behind the headlines. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe. I've got more breaking Trump news coming your way. Trust me, this story is far from over, and things are about to get even crazier. The legal battles are escalating, the political stakes are higher than ever, and the Trump family is right in the crosshairs. I'll see you in the next one.